Good afternoon, everybody. Let us now deal with the fourth part of the exercise that we began earlier, and we're going to, work on the exercise concerning the phoneme L in English. And if you still remember, we were asked to identify the different, if you like, the different realizations or other forms of the phoneme L in English. So here on this page, you have got different words taken from English to show you different contexts where we're going to allocate the realizations or the allophones of L. For example, we have got L which is clear, L which is dark, L which is syllabic. Now among these words here, which realization are we going to identify of the phoneme L? Which means in which word is L clear or dark or syllabic? So you still remember that we have tried to answer this exercise here. I have tried to help you do it alone. Now let us please just try to if you like, identify all the phonetic environments and all the allophones of L depending on these phonetic environments. So the first one is this environment here, when L is initial. Here this is the case of lip and love. Normally L in here is clear, so we have to put the check in here. Now in the words slip and slide, here, slip and slide, this L, in fact, which is in between consonant and a vowel, is clear. So we have to put the check in here, slip, slide. Now, the other, words which are left here, allow and malign, we have already identified the L in this context between two vowels and the next vowel is stressed. This L is being given the realization or the allophone, which is this one, dark. Okay, now swallow and silly, you remember that we talked about this L between these two vowels, but the first vowel is stressed and the next one is unstressed. So in this context here, it's going to be clear. Okay. Now, there is another context that we need to talk about. This salt and elk. Here the L is before a final consonant here. This one is before a consonant. Here salt, we don't say salt or ilk, we say salt, elk. So this one is dark. So we have to put, this is the dark realization, and the check is going to be put in here. Okay. Now the other remaining context is this one, okay, where we have got hustle and bushel. The L is final. When it is final, it is at the same time syllabic and dark here. So now we have finished this exercise. I need just to to go to page 4 to deal with the other exercise which remains there. Okay, so let me first of all just make it a little bit bigger to see what we have got in it. Okay. Now we have noted that phonemes serve to contrast forms in a language. This is the main definition of the phoneme, if you still remember. The phoneme is the smallest contrastive unit. Now, allophones are phonetically conditioned variants of a phoneme. I think you understand what we mean by this sentence here. Phonemes, are contrastive units, but allophones are phonetically conditioned variants of a phoneme. What do you mean by they are phonetically conditioned variants of a phoneme? It means that each realization of the phoneme that we obtain depends on the phonetic environment where it is found. So this is what is meant by they are phonetically conditioned variants of a phoneme. Let me just remind you of what we said about the voiceless stops. When they are initial, this is one of their phonetic environments. When they are initial, they are aspirated. So if you like, the aspirated voiceless stop is one of the realizations which is obtained according to a special phonetic environment. Okay. Now, the essential difference between the two classifications is based on predictability. What do you mean by this notion of predictability? A phonetic difference is allophonic if it can be predicted on the basis of, number one, the phonetic quality of neighboring sounds. Let me just remind you of the concrete example that we have already dealt with. We said that t can be pronounced as a flap. D. In which context? When it is put between two vowels and the next vowel is unstressed. This is what we have got here. We can predict, we can say beforehand that is going to be pronounced as the in the context when it is put between two vowels and the next vowel is weak, is unstressed. So this is what is meant by predictability. Now, number two, we can also take into consideration the position within the word. This is what we have already talks about in connection to the three phonemes p, t, k, and even l. So the position that the phoneme occupies within the word can help us understand, or if you like, know which realization to give it. And factor number three, we can talk about the influence of a prosodic element. For example, stress. Stress is one among the prosodic elements in language. For example, the difference between, let's say, insult and to insult. Insult and to insult. Here, the difference between the noun and the verb is just a matter of stress, this prosodic element. Now, stress can help us sometimes know which realization to give to which phoneme. For example, we talked about, for example, k. K can be, if you like, aspirated if it is put between two vowels and the next one is stressed. But it can be unaspirated when it is put between two vowels and the second vowel is unstressed here. So remember these three, if you like, criteria to help us, determine the variants or the allophones of phonemes. First, the phonetic quality of neighboring sounds. Second, the position within the word. Or three, the influence of a prosodic element, for example, stress. Now, unpredictable phonetic differences are phonemic. Let me just very quickly give you a very simple example. The word cat, which the first sound or the first phoneme of it, it's k. Can we predict that k should be placed in the initial position of at to give us cat? There is no rule on which we can base this judgment, because instead of k we can have f to obtain fat, we can obtain m to obtain mat, and so on and so forth here. Now, When something is cannot be predicted by a certain rule, okay, this is something phonemic here. So unpredictable phonetic differences are phonemic. Now problem 1.6. Consider the following forms. We have got a list of words taken from a hypothetical language. So we have got this one: big table. Big means chair. Tick, it means man. Tegu, tiger, and the other words here. Now, among these words that we have got from this hypothetical language, okay, we have of course to examine the environments in which k and g occur. We are going to concentrate on just two sounds in this language, k and g. So we are asked to examine the environments in which k and g occur. It will be helpful to arrange their distribution in a chart. The same thing that we did for p and the t and k and even l, we are going to repeat it with these two sounds according to these words. Where do we find k? Where do we find g? Okay, so we are going to determine, if you like, the distribution of these two sounds in this language. Now, what sound can be found initial? What sound can be found, final, or before a consonant, or between two vowels? So these are the two sounds in here. We have, to put the check in the right context, in the right, environment, where we find it in the words here, in our data. So, k is found where? Is it initial? Let us look at the words here. Okay, we have got this one, cat. Good. So, k, we have got even kaga, ka. So, it's possible for k to occur initially in this language. So we have to put the check in here. Same thing in here. Now, is it final? Let's look at the words. Yes, it's final. We have got this example of the word pick, which means table, where it is final. So we have put the check in here. Now, is it before a consonant? Let's look through our words. Yes, k is before n here. Let us look at other words. Okay, it is possible, so we have to put the check in here. Now, is k between two vowels? Let's have a look at the words. No, no, no in here, no, 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 and even in here, no. So it seems that this context, this phonetic environment, we don't find k. So we have got to have like 0 here. Now, g. Where do we have g? Here it's between two vowels. It's between two vowels. We have to put the check in here. Now, is it found before a consonant? Look. No, it's not found before consonant. Is it found final? Is g in the final position in these words? No. Is g in the initial position in these words? Okay, same thing. No. So what do we notice here? G occurs only in this context, in this phonetic environment between two vowels. But k is found in other contexts. It's found here, here, and here. So what does this mean? The contexts, the phonetic environments where k can be found, we don't find g. And the same thing here, vice versa, if you like. G can be found in a context where k cannot occur. So the phonetic environment where we find g, we don't find k. And the same thing works in the other way around here. So what do we mean in this case? these two sounds occur in complementary distribution. That is, they never occur in the same environment. This suggests that in this language, these two segments may be allophones of the same phoneme. Okay, so when we have a case of complementary distribution, this can be taken as a criterion to as a first element or as a first clue to consider the two sounds as being allophones of the same phoneme. So k occurs at the beginning of words, at the end of words, and before consonants. G has a more restricted distribution, for it only occurs between vowels. In addition to being in complementary distribution, k and g are phonetically similar. This is the second condition. So look, the first condition was that they should be in complementary distribution, number one. Note, this is condition number one. Now condition number two, they should be phonetically similar. Why do we say that they are phonetically similar? Both of them, k and g, are stops. They are stop sounds. And at the same time that they are velar, sounds. So they share at least two phonetic features. They are stops and velar sounds. That's why we say they are phonetically similar. Now, when two sounds occur in complementary distribution and they are phonetically similar, we may consider them as two allophones of the same phoneme. Now, generally, allophones of a phoneme share phonetic traits. How shall we symbolize the phoneme of which k and g are allophones? Which means, which is the basic phoneme and which are the realizations? Now, let us establish the convention of representing a phoneme with the symbol used for the allophone occurring in the most environments. This is the explanation of what we have just read in here. Because k appears in more environments, what we call the elsewhere case below, we shall use k as the phonetic representation. Let me just go back to this chart in here. We said k has got a wider distribution. It can occur in more than one or two phonetic environments. It is initial, this one, it's final, and it is here in this context. But g has got a restricted distribution. It occurs only in this particular context between two vowels here. So because k appears in more environments, what we call the elsewhere case below, we shall use k as the phonemic representation, which means that k is the phoneme and it has got two realizations. The first realization is k when it is initial, final, and before consonant. And the second realization, it is realized or pronounced as g when it is put between two vowels here. Okay, so we can express the distribution of the phoneme as follows. K, the phoneme, becomes the realization or the allophone g when it occurs between two vowels. Now, k, the phoneme, can be realized as k elsewhere. Elsewhere, it means the other phonetic environments. No need to state them one by one. The others, because the others, which means apart from this context in here. Okay, so k elsewhere, elsewhere means that this variant, this allophone, occurs in all other environments where this phoneme appears. Now, the transcription given at the beginning of this problem is a phonetic one. What do we mean by phonetic? We are trying to represent the allophones in our transcription. Note the square brackets enclosing the phonetic symbols. When we have got phonetic transcription, we put, that transcription between square brackets. In a phonemic transcription, to be enclosed in diagonal bars, only phonemic symbols are used. The phonemic transcription, for example, K2, would be pika. This is to be pronounced as piga, since we know that in this language the phoneme K has as its phonetic realization the allophone or the variant G when it is between vowels. This is what we explained before. Okay, so this is the other exercise that we wanted to work on, and later on we are going to work on this problem 1.6b. Now I think your job has become to some extent easy, having done the same work for K, G, L and P and the other sounds. Try please to work alone on this exercise. Later on we are going to find, of course together, the solutions to this problem here. Okay, so in fact, still concerning this exercise that we have just finished, we have got problem 1.6b. Transcribe phonemically examples 4, 6, 7, 10. Now you know that there is a difference between phonemic and phonetic transcription. In phonemic transcription we are asked just to put the phonemes. In phonetic transcriptions we are asked to show the allophones. This is allophonic, if you like, transcription here. Now of course, as I said, next time I want to work on this exercise here. Now I will try to have this opportunity to help you work on this exercise, but not now, but in the future. Okay, see you another time.